Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar series. We're going to be talking today about consciousness business or conscious business. So today we have some amazing people that will be presenting. And so a little bit about me, I am an MA and MBA student at Maharishi International University. I want to thank especially Ayako for giving me this opportunity to introduce such lovely guest speakers as well as panelists. And I'm loving my degree here, getting an MA in Leadership and Workplace Conflict Resolution and an MBA in Sustainable Business. So I'm going to briefly introduce our guest speaker as well as our panelists for today, and then we'll dive right into the presentation. So our guest speaker is Ajay Prakash Shrivastava. So Ajay is a longtime practitioner of Maharishi's Transcendental meditation program, and he is a TM teacher. He was personally trained by Maharishi and worked under his guidance for various projects, connected with various social, educational, and charitable organizations in India and internationally. Ajay Prakash Shrivastava is president of Maharishi Solar Technology, Chancellor of Maharishi University of Information Technology, and is the president of Maharishi Institute of Creative Intelligence. So welcome, Ajay. And a little bio about our panelists. So we have Ajay Banerjee. So he is the co-founder and chief operating officer at Immersive Touch and received a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering, Finance, and Economics at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and is an alumnus of Maharishi International University, where he graduated with a Master of Arts in Consciousness and Human Potential. And Jay currently resides in Chicago, Illinois. And then finally, our second panelist, Jim. Jim Bellylove is the president of Creative Edge Master Shop Incorporated since 1988 and received his MBA from Harvard Business School with his undergrad in environmental studies from the University of California, Santa Barbara. And Jim currently lives in Fairfield, Iowa. So welcome all. And Ajay, I'm going to let you take it away.
All right. Thank you very much, Natalia. What I like to first tell you a little bit about myself. I've been involved in the Maharishi's Transcendental meditation movement in India and abroad since my, I can say, childhood, because my father was also connected with the movement. So from that point of view, I met Maharishi first time when I was 6 years old. I saw him in Jabalpur in one of our native town. So whatever I'm going to talk about here in terms of conscious business is what I have learned from Maharishi, because that's where I got all the theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge from working on various projects that Maharishi ji has told us to do, and in various places, mostly in India, but other countries as well. I have a small presentation I have made, but the presentation was only so it reminds me what to talk about. Let me see if I can share the screen here. Yes, and then share screen. Here.
And just a little note for everybody that's attending, any questions that you have, you can just pop it in the chat. And because there's going to be so many questions, I'm sure, because this is going to be an amazing presentation, just make sure to put in your email address so that all the questions we don't get to, we can email you all after this webinar. Thank you.
So what Maharishi has always said, for basis of everything he says always is Yogastha Kuru Karmani. All of us who are meditators or who have been associated with Maharishi for many years, all of us have heard this expression, Yogastha Kuru Karmani. What it means is establish in yoga, union, and perform action. So this is basis for all activities, including whether we are in business, whether we are in charitable activity, social activity, anywhere we are. This is one of the best lesson one of the most important lesson that Maharshi ji has given us, that we have to perform action wherever, whenever, whatever action we do, that has to come from the level of unity, from the level of yoga. And of course, as all of you know, that transcendental meditation is the process to achieve that union, that establishment, that establish to establish in yoga. That's union we can achieve by practice of transcendental meditation. So if it is a business, you do the business, you do the business from that level of consciousness, because then all your actions, all your thoughts and actions will be positive, as we say that they will be in accordance with laws of nature. And then that means there is no scope for making any wrong decisions, or wrong um, anything going wrong, possibility of anything going wrong. So that is the basis of all our actions and all our thoughts. That's one of the biggest principle that Maharshi ji has taught all of us, and it is useful in every field, whatever field we are in, it is useful. Then next thing what Maharshi ji has always told us is the creativity. Creativity is the basis for success in life. And creativity, how do we achieve creativity, how do we uh, accomplish creativity, is by practice of transcendental meditation. This is one of the way to achieve it, and of course most successful and most easy way to achieve creativity uh, is by transcendental meditation. And that's one of the thing Maharshi has taught. I remember in my most of my learning has been from being with Maharshi. So learning from Maharshi's, being with him and seeing what he says and what he does, what he replies. I remember in 1975, I think we were in Germany, and then there was Maharshi was inaugurating the dawn of the age of enlightenment in various cities in Germany, going around, flying around. I think 4 cities were there. So one of the city, one reporter came out, and Maharshi, there is so much chaos, so much poverty, so much hunger all over the world. What is your answer in one word? Maharshi very simply said creativity. And then he was little surprised, this reporter. And then Maharshi, of course, explained in then they explained to him that this is what is creativity means, and how it can uh, improve the quality of life of the people. If people are more creative, they're more successful, then they earn more money, and then hunger and negativity and all that goes away when people are more successful. So that one word answer that Maharshi gave I was very young at that time in 1975. That was very big basis for my doing things also in the movement. And every time I remember that one word answer to that reporter was very rude actually, but that's how sometimes the reporters are. But one word answer, Maharshi said creativity, and there was a huge crowd in that hall where Maharshi was giving lecture. So that is one of the things that is important for us. Uh, it says keep in touch with your creative intelligence through the regular practice of transcendental meditation. This is, we all know that this is what Maharshi has always emphasized on, that we have to keep 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 in touch with our creative intelligence, and that's how creativity starts. One of the organization in then that we established in 1977 in India, when Maharshi 1976, when after the dawn of the age of enlightenment, Maharshi came to India. Then we established the organization called Maharshi Institute of Creative Intelligence, and that was the purpose, that we will we will we are focusing on creative intelligence of the people, and that was the organization at that time. And that is the organization in India which runs many schools and universities, mostly educational organizations, because our basis for even in our schools, the basis is improving quality of life through improvement in creative intelligence, creativity. So this is one of the thing. One first was the Yogasthya Kurkarmani, and then creativity. And then one of the things that I learned from Maharshi ji was very interesting, that every time there is something, there's so many, I was mostly part of the administration. So in administration, there are always some of the many things that you don't feel good about. Some people make mistakes, some people do do wrong things by knowingly, some do wrong things by unknowingly, some people cheat you. And always, sometimes I used to get depressed, and I then Maharishi would say, what happened? And I will tell him this happened. So there is always silver lining. This is very important lesson Maharishi gave me. He said there is always something good in the people. Find that good, and then use that good for the advantage of whatever you want to get done. I remember, I tell you these stories because most of my learning is from experience. So I remember in one of the courses, Maharshi wanted to organize a big course. That was many years ago, I think 77, in that area, 70, 79, 80, after, no, 81, 82, in that time. So he wanted to organize a course. So he advertised in the newspapers in India that we are looking for educated people who can read and write, and then we will train them into various aspects of Vedic science. So we received more than 5,000, 6,000 applications, and it was a big advertisement, and a lot of applications came. And we had place for only 150 people in the course place. So we sat down and we sorted those applications and all that, and we selected about 200 people. We'll call them for interview, and 150, 125 will select from them. And then Maharshi asked me what happened to this advertisement, and I said we received around 7,000 application, and we sorted them out, and we have shortlisted 200 people. We are calling them for interview, and they will join us. And then Maharshi said, okay, that's good. But those who have rejected, I want to know why you have rejected. I want to know what is good. He said there must be something good about those people, because they responded to my call for a course. They responded to my invitation for a course. So there must be something good about those people. So why you want to reject so many people? So of course, infrastructure problem was one of those problems. I told Maharshi that we cannot house more than 100 people, 150 people in that facility where we want to run the course. But that time Maharshi taught me this. This was a lesson that there is always something good about people, and you have to find that good. So he said that you are rejecting based on certain things you may have seen there, but try to find in each application what is good about them, why they have applied. There must be something good about them. So that is one of the biggest lesson, that you always have to find something. Sometime in administration, or in your business, in your working, you will find people who disappoint you, who don't do what you want them to do, or those who don't achieve the targets you give them. But there must be something good about them. We have to take that good from the people and nourish that good by asking them to focus what is good about them. So that is one of the lesson that very, very important in my life, when I learned from Maharshi. And I use it even now when I find somebody who is not doing something good. I sit with him, talk to him, what he knows, what he has gone, what he has studied, what is experience, and try to find where we can use him. Rather, if we cannot use him in this department, maybe we can use him in some other department. That is finding a silver lining in every situation, in everybody. And that's what second point says. Why find that good? What is good about those people? But we have to find that. And then another thing that I have learned from Maharshi is very interesting, was be persistent. You remember when we had I think many of you will remember, we had the capital in Salisbury, Switzerland. Maharshi stayed there for many years. And then we had established the world government of the age of enlightenment. And through that world government, we used to send letters to various governments so that they can introduce transcendental meditation in their schools, in their factories, in their prisons, and all that. So that kind of letter used to go to every country from the international capital in Switzerland, and telling them about what is good about TM, and how they can introduce TM, and how they can benefit from TM, how their country can benefit from TM. And that used to be kind of a regular practice during their national day. Whenever every country has a national day, during that national day, we will congratulate them and send them a letter. So it was a regular practice for many years. And then Maharshi used to write to them. So once I asked Maharshi, we write to these people every year, every other year, and tell them to introduce TM. Some of them respond, saying that we received your letter, thank you very much for all that. Some of them don't even respond. So why do we keep on sending them this letter? And that time Maharshi said, we have to be persistent. If we know something is good, if we know something is good for the society, good for the world, then we have to keep on telling the people. Sometimes when the level of consciousness is better, the world consciousness is more positive, then people will start realizing, people will start understanding that what Maharshi ji is saying, what this organization is saying is something good for my country, good for my people, and they will adopt it. And of course, when this continues on for many years, and this be persistent means, Maharshi used to say, if you have something good to offer, keep on telling people that this is something you have good to offer, and we have something very good to offer in the form of meditation. Then we should continue to tell people that this is what we are offering. Maybe sometime, maybe after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they listen. And of course, many countries responded, and we taught in many countries uh, meditation through government channels also. So be persistent was very successful. And in business also, if we know that what we are offering, whether goods or services or advice, whatever business we are in, then if we know that what we are offering is good for the public, good for the person, good for your customers, then we have to keep on emphasizing on that this is something good for you. And then another thing Maharshi thought, think big. When we wanted to start, when Maharshi wanted to start when we started Ayurveda, Maharshi Ayurveda, in the beginning it was only consultation and advice. Later on we went into the product. When we went into the product, we were making our business plan, how many machinery to how much machinery to buy, what kind of product we have to make, how much of this we have to make. And there was one of the product that many of you may have heard is called Amrit Kalash. So that was being decided. Vaidyas were sitting, Maharshi was sitting, we were sitting, we were planning that. My elder brother Anand Shrivastava was there also. He was appointed the in charge for making product. So we were all sitting discussing how many bottles we will make, how many kilos we will make. All these discussions were going on. We made our discussion. We came to Maharshi for presentation that this is what we are thinking. Maharshi outright rejected it. You are talking about 10,000 people. The world has so many. In those days, I think it was probably a 7 billion, 6 billion people. Then you're talking about making 10,000 pieces a month or something. So he was laughing at us. He said, think about the whole world. His motto was creating a disease-free society. So creating a disease-free society will not be possible if you only 10,000 people or 20,000 people are taking Amrit Kalash. It has to go to hundreds and hundreds and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So Maharshi's idea was always think big. If you want to do business, if you want to do anything, think big. That was one of the lessons he was always telling us. Even when we wanted to start schools in India, he said we were thinking like we will start maybe 20, 30, 50 schools. We were thinking from our own thinking that what is our, and Maharshi, when we presented to Maharshi that we were thinking of starting a school where the students will do group meditation, he immediately said, think think starting at least 500 in the beginning and then go on to more numbers. So can you imagine starting 500 schools at one go? We were we were successful in starting about 150, 200 at that time. But Maharshi immediately said, at least make plan for 500 in the first phase. So this is idea. His idea was always think big. And then another thing I learned from him was to do better work, you have to delegate your authority. You have to spread yourself in, and that is a normal management principle. Also, many MBAs school will we must have learned. All the people who've done MBA, they all know that delegate authority is one of the main principle of administration. And I remember in one of the place there was a big course in 1980. I'm giving you all the example because my whole learning with Maharshi has been from my own experience with him. So there was a big course in India in 1980, in November and December. It's called Vedic Science course. Many people from very many countries came, and many very Vedic Pandits were assembled, and we had almost 8 to 10,000, I think, people, 4,000 international guests, 6,000 Vedic Pandits, and they were all assembled in India for in Delhi for 1 month, 40 days. And that time there was a lot of work we were doing, and everybody was busy and all that. And suddenly in the month of, I think, February or something, this course was Course was for 1 month, and Maharshi kept on extending it. So many people left, but many still continued to stay. And then Maharshi wanted to send me somewhere out of the country, to Japan or Switzerland, I don't remember. And I said, Maharshi, I cannot leave because I have so many things to do, so much responsibility I have. And this was my early days in the movement when I started working. And I have to, so he said, everything you do, somebody else can do. All you have to do is tell them how to do it and then monitor it. So he taught me delegate the authority, delegate your, multiply yourself by that way, and delegate authorities. So that is one of the principle of management and administration that I learned from him, the delegate authority. And of course, this is main thing that Maharshi has always taught us. Everything that we do should improve the quality of life. Quality of life of yourself, of the people you're working with, people you are providing service or goods to, and that whatever we do we should always emphasize and improving the quality of life. Suppose we are selling medicine, this Ayurvedic products, then we should have those products which improve the quality of life. We are teaching TM, of course, to improve the quality of life. If we are selling them any goods or material or providing service, that is one of the major principles that Maharshi has taught us, that whatever we do, it should improve the quality of life. I'm looking at time. I don't know whether I'm doing good or bad. I don't know. Yes.
Yep, we have 2 minutes left.
2 minutes left only. Oh, I talk too much, it means. That's another thing that is very good, and that comes from Gita, actually. Bhagavad Gita, most of you know about Gita. It's the teachings of Lord Krishna to Arjuna in the form of Gita. Maharshi has done commentary on the first 6 chapters of the Gita. And that is maintain somehow. That means whether you got a $1 million lottery ticket, or sometime you lost in business $1 million. In both these situations, your level of consciousness should be similar. It's very difficult to maintain that level, but when you practice transcendental meditation, you achieve that level where you can actually maintain evenness in sorrow and in happiness. Of course, when you lose $1 million in your business, you are very sad, but that's not should not create depression in your, so that you go down further because you lost $1 million, because you made $1 million earlier, then you lost $1 million. You can make it again. There is a possibility. Same thing, if you won $1 million lottery, maybe you will spend it next day, you won't have anything. Maybe a few days after, you don't have anything. So you have to maintain somehow. This is one of the major lesson in the Bhagavad Gita. And of course, Maharshi always told us about that. When I was sad and something wasn't successful, he didn't tell me to that you did something wrong and all. They didn't even pay attention to whatever my problem was. They started telling me something else, diverting my attention. So that is one of the way to maintain somehow, is that you divert your attention or something like that, I guess. So that is one of the lesson in the business, is maintain somehow evenness.
Thank you so much, AJ. So if it's okay, are we able to go into some dialogue with our first panelist? Is that all right?
One more thing before we go to the panelists, one more last idea was, don't reject an idea in the beginning. If you have a good idea, try to find a way to achieve it. This is one of the things that I learned from Maharshi also. Whenever there is a good idea, he said, don't try to see. You don't reject it because I don't have money to do it, or I don't have people to do it. Try to find a way to do it if the idea is good. Now we can go. My slides. There are more slides. I think we can just. These are Maharshi's principle, which I have taken from his lectures, various lectures, so that we can go to the panelists now.
Great, thank you so much. And I really appreciate such amazing content that you've been able to share with us today. So Jay, if you have some questions, some dialogue you want to start with Ajay, now is the time.
Great. Jay Gurudev, Ajay Uncle, thank you for taking the time. I had one question, was thinking big. So What was Maharishi's principles on finance? Obviously, to think big, you need the capital and the money to do that. And building on your last point, when you have a good idea, you don't want to kind of limit yourself. You want to make sure that you find a way to do it. But did Maharishi have any principles on finance, whether raising money from investors or taking loans, how to evaluate that, or is it better to bootstrap, or is it better to um, do friends and family? I mean, do you have any thoughts on that, on finance?
Specifically, he didn't say anything about that I don't remember. But think big was the idea was that you plan something, and then once you have achieved in the project, suppose you want to start I'm giving an example. You want to start a production of some manufacturing of something. So you plan for that. This is what I will do. This is the machinery I need. This is the money I need and all that. And Maharshi was always, first preference was always to go to the bank with your idea. Bank or these what you call venture capitalists. Because I remember he even sent two or three of us to venture capitalists when we wanted to start some project. He said, go and find out what they want to know, what they want to support an idea, what are their conditions. So this is a bank and the investors was always preferred way of raising money. But before that, he always because he always to first think about idea, develop the idea. Like in business terms, it's called making a project report and presentation. And so I think Maharshi did in the speech on technical terms, but his thinking was that you develop the idea, write it down properly, and then go to the bank, and then the bank will tell you whether they will support it or not. And bank could be a normal commercial bank or could be investors.
Okay, great. No, it's the importance of business planning is paramount, and I'm glad that Maharishi also felt the same way. I mean, it's important to plant the seed first and then let that grow. So
you have to take your idea and develop it, because once you have to satisfy yourself that this is a good idea, then of course for nowadays for banks and all that, you have to write it down and make a presentation, PowerPoint, and make Excel sheets and things like that, which is now normally the banks understand that this is how your Excel sheet looks like in 5 years, what you will do in 7 years, what you will do, like that.
Right. My next question was in the silver lining, finding the good in employees. What's the balance in your experience between what's best for employees and what's best for the business as a whole?
I think the business, of course, has priority. So if I find an employee that is not doing well in one department, but before I fire him or terminate him, I will try to find what else he can do, whether he can be useful for me in some other department, whether he has some talent that is not being used in this department when we have to transfer into some other department. So this is how you have to interact with your people, and then find out what they have and why they have not achieved where they are there. What is the problem they cannot achieve? Maybe it's something they don't know, or they are in the beginning they were sent into the wrong department. Maybe they did not have proper education or proper experience or technology. Now the technology is very advanced now. So many of the people who are now in their 50s, in their 50s probably are not so familiar with technology. So sometimes these people are very good in doing something, but they are not very good with computers or a technical the software and all that. So they are not successful. So you always have to try to find from the person and give him a chance, maybe one time, two times, and then of course if giving proper chance to them, they don't succeed, then of course you have to fire them. But always try to find something good about them.
Absolutely. I mean, I think prioritizing the business is best for customers, for all the rest of the employees as well, right? And everybody.
Business is the prime importance, because that's the whole basis of all the all the existence for all the employees. So business has to be prioritized.
Right. One other question I have from the audience is, out of every 10 business, 9 typically fail. The failure rates are very high. What do you think is the main reason behind this? Do you think that most of these businesses maybe are not following the principles of creative intelligence? Is that the reason, or what are your thoughts on this?
I would say there may be 2 reasons. One, that maybe time for that business has not come. Maybe it's too early or too late. And of course, find the creative intelligence, following the principles of creative intelligence, and which is basically Yogasthya Kuru Karmani. So if a business is good and it has failed, if somebody thinks that my idea is great, but maybe the time has not come for that idea, that could be a reason. But mostly is because of the lack of creativity also could be a reason.
And the last question is, profits obviously are the number one goal of a business. What are your thoughts on, is shareholder value and profits the number one goal for the business, or how do we balance profit from, let's say, social good? For example, Facebook, or has been seen as kind of detrimental for mental health for children or whatever. I mean, that's just one example. Or the oil companies, or what's the balance between what the society is demanding, which is profits, versus building a business that feels good but might not be profitable, or might not be as profitable?
I think profit will always be there if your business is good for the society. That should be the idea. Should be the business should be good for the society. And Maharishi always emphasized on ethical aspect of the business, that you do business with with ethics in mind. It's not that for profit I will do anything. That should not be the criteria, because if you do something wrong, and since we, especially in India, we believe in the philosophy of karma. So if you do something wrong, something wrong will happen to you in future. So the best advice from Maharishi has always been, be very ethical in your business dealing.
Yes.
If there is a time, I will give you an example. When we were making an Ayurvedic product, we were discussing about one particular product, and there was a raw material that was needed for that product, and it was very difficult to get that raw material, the pure raw material for that product. And various Vaidyas were discussing that we should ignore that, and because it's not available, so maybe in our shastras, in our scripture, it's written that we should use that particular product to make this. But if it is not really available, we can ignore that. And Maharishi immediately said, don't make that product. If all the raw material which are described, if you make it, then don't call it, don't give that name that is given in the scripture, because you are not putting all the ingredients there. And so many Vedas, a lot of people are doing that. They're making, but Maharishi said, we don't want to do like that. We want to do something right. If the scripture says you have to put 16 ingredients in that product, then you put 16. If you don't have 16, you only want to put 15, then call something else. Don't give it the name of what the scripture says. So that is doing bad business ethically.
And one question from the audience, which is, what is the threshold for deciding whether a business is in line with ethics? For example, selling tobacco products. I think you answered that, right?
Yeah. One of the points in my slide was improving the quality of life. So you have to look at from that point of view whether it is going to improve the quality of life. I don't want to comment on a particular tobacco or alcohol and all that, because many people do that business and make a lot of money also, but whether that is improving the quality of life of the people. I think from Maharishi's point of view, the criteria should be improving the quality of life.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. What wonderful discourse we're having thus far. And there will be a Q&A specifically for all of our attendees. So if you want to keep some of these questions going, we'll refer back to them when we're at the end of the session as well. So thank you so much, Jay. Lovely questions. So now we're going to head over to Jim. Jim and Ajay are going to have a little chat now. And I hope you all enjoy this wonderful conversation we're about to hear.
Hi, Jim. I don't know if you remember me, Jim. I think I visited. You have this factory for cutting stones through water. Is that the company? Jim, you are muted.
I think, yeah, Jim, you're muted right now.
Oh, so you visited our factory, is that correct?
Is that the same factory now where you use high-speed water?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that
I
was
visited many years ago. I visited your factory. Yes.
Yes. So I thought, as a way of discussing this with you, I would make myself sort of an example and of my experience in business, and then you can comment on that. So I am I think I'm going on 50-something years of meditation, and I would say that my business ideas and career were born in the movement and working. I got the idea of being a businessman because I wanted to make things happen, and Maharishi was inspiring, and particularly I got Yoga Sta Karu Karmani, and that got embedded in my brain, and that was the way to do things. And I set out to do things, and of course I found the channel of business because that's what my father did. So I didn't think of being in the theater, I didn't think of writing, I didn't think of whatever else, but that was just natural. That's what I wanted to do, so that's what I've done. But sort of my question and my thought is I listened to Maharishi a lot and I heard all the stories, but I kind of, by the time I got in business, I was very, very busy all the time. You know, doing things and making things and dealing with the people. So it kind of all boiled down to meditate and act, and don't really keep any of not too many of the philosophies or thinking. That came to be my way of life, is meditate and act. Don't hold much in mind, and the consciousness will come in handy. But so anyway, that's my thought. I wondered for your comments on that. And that went on for, let's say, 50 years, and here I am. So,
So, Jim, you must be.
there you go. So whatever.
You must have followed all Maharishi's principles because you are such a successful businessman. So whatever.
Well, yes, but I had ups and downs, lots of, just like you said, ups and downs.
That's a part of life, I think. That's
yes.
That's probably that's the philosophy of karma that we very much adhere to in Indian system of thinking. In Vedic system, we believe in philosophy of karma. So I think the ups and downs is probably due to our karma, that we accumulate during doing whatever we want to do. But whatever principles that Maharishi has taught for the business, that you must have followed, though. That's why you are such a successful person. And then, as you said, Yogasthaya Guru Karmani, that since 50 years you are meditating, and then you are doing your business and doing it successfully. So you are actually an example of Maharishi's main principle of Yogasthaya Guru Karmani. That's your.
Well, a few of the things I just responded to when you were talking. Persistence. That. So, I got into that. I got evenness. I got one thing I never got was delegate. I didn't. That was very difficult for me. And thinking big was good, but you big things didn't always follow from thinking big. So again, any comments you might have might be interesting.
I think since there is a saying in English now that all is well that ends well. You are a successful businessman. So whatever principle you have followed of Maharshi's principle you have followed, that made you successful. Whether you have been able to delegate your authorities or not, that's immaterial, because you are successful and you must have people working for you, and that is basically delegation of authority. You don't go down to the floor shop to do your things. Maybe you have person to do that. So that's the kind of delegation of your
Well,
authority.
I do go down to the floor shop
You check
because
that.
I can't find good ways to delegate. But yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have much else to say, but I am a meditating businessman, and the consciousness, is part of life, of course, and I always count on the evenness, and that's sort of my story. And any thoughts you might have could be interesting.
That's basically the ultimate goal is to be successful in whatever you do, whether you are a businessman, whether you are providing some service, whether you're providing some goods, or you're running an institution. The ultimate goal is to be successful using the various principles that Maharshi has. Maybe we don't use all of those principles in a particular project. Maybe some of those we use, but ultimate goal is to be successful, and you are successful. So whatever Maharshi has taught to you in the form of transcendental meditation for Yogastha Kuru Karmani, to establish in yoga, that you have followed, you practiced, and then that gave you the success in life. And I think that is probably the most basic principle of success in life, is to establish in yoga and then perform action.
It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. Okay, well, those are my
beautiful.
thoughts that you.
Thank you.
Wow,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Jim and Ajay. That was really profound. Something that popped in my mind as now we're transitioning to more of the Q&A for the audience. So as I'm speaking, audience members, if you want to pop in some questions you might have, feel free to do so now. But I feel that, especially with my own personal experience, I've meditated now for almost 2 years. I feel that meditating, you're able to find your purpose, and find things that are very much aligned with you and what feels right, and you're able to take that action because you have not so much of the stress anymore in your life, right? You're able to just like have clarity of mind. So I think that that's really something beautiful, at least that when Jim was speaking about his experience, it seems like you kind of found your life purpose, and especially through business. I think that it's very cool how holistic TM can be and how it could really just positively impact all aspects of your life.
And finding a purpose in life is probably, it's always there, and the right word, you use the right word, finding it. It's like if you are traveling, you're going somewhere, there's a lot of fog, you don't see the building in front of you. But when you meditate, that fog disappears from your thinking process. So that when the fog is gone, then you see your goal, the building that you want to see. That's your purpose. So finding a purpose is the right expression. Actually, is finding it by meditating, by removing the stresses from your thinking, making the things more clear. And Maharishi always used to say, when you go to the level of fourth state of consciousness, thinking becomes more clear because stresses are gone. Your thinking is more clear. The fog is removed. The darkness is gone. The more light. You can think clearly. So that is finding the purpose in life.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So for all of you that are here today, we are taking in any questions. So please feel free, if you need a moment to reflect and think about some questions you might want to ask Ajay, please feel free to put it in the chat now, because I would love to hear from you all any questions that you might have, especially the special space that we've created. So I'll give a moment for people to think about what questions they might want to ask, and they can pop it in the chat.
Best thing we do in business, while somebody is asking question, I just want to add one more thing. Best thing we do, what we do actually in business is get support of nature. Support of nature, Maharishi expressed in the form of when you are thinking clearly, when you are stress free in your making your decisions, making thinking, then you get support of nature, and that makes your life, that makes your business or whatever you're doing more successful. So there is one of the aspect that one of my those few of my slides which were left, that those are the things that Maharishi has taught the Vedic management. What is Vedic management? Is that you manage your whatever affairs you are doing, business or services or whatever, you manage them from that framework, from that mind where nature supports you in your thinking.
Yeah, I love that. And so we do have a question from actually one of my classmates, my accounting class, Catherine Fisher. So she asked, when should we start? For instance, should we wait until we are more financially secure and begin in a small way? I'm guessing in terms of like starting a business venture.
I think as I was talking to Jay, I said that first we have to make our plan, what we want to do, what we want to achieve, and how do we achieve it. All that plan has to be made. And then, of course, you start small. If you don't have finances, you start big. If you have finances. So depending on the availability of whatever you need to start a business. Suppose you want to start a business and you don't have enough lot of money, so you hire, instead of 10 people, you hire 3 people, you hire 4 people in your business. So the finances always play a role in starting a business. But before that, first you have to make your plan, what you actually want to do, what you want to achieve, and how much you want to go, how big you want to do. Everything they see when you run, as people say, the first step is the most important step. So the first step when you take, and that means whatever business finances you can manage through banks or investors or something, then you start that business and then let it grow. If the business, if your planning is properly, if your product is good, then people will buy it, people will use it, and then your business will grow automatically.
And so I have actually a question for all the attendees now. So what are some takeaway points from this webinar that you could apply to your personal life, your professional life? I would love to hear how these teachings that Ajay presented us today, how you also plan on incorporating that. And we do have another question. Or maybe, a comment from an audience member. They said that they're a beginner to TM. They're going through depression and anxiety. Does TM help to overcome from like their hard days of one's life? So maybe TM's application to stress, anxiety, depression. Your thoughts on that?
I think TM will definitely help in these situations, because most of these situations are connected with this level of stress. And more doctor will confirm that, psychologist will confirm that. But I think TM always helps. There are a lot of studies that have been done on transcendental meditation, that it helps in the case of depression. So I would only advise you that you get your meditation, do your meditation regularly, twice a day, as advised by your TM teacher, and then get it checked frequently. If you still feel that you are not getting benefit from it, then get it checked by your teacher. Maybe have a personal checking session. There are whole procedure is there for checking meditation. So wherever you have learned TM, and then contact your teacher, say I'm still not feeling good about, or I'm still having problem. Maybe you are doing something not properly. So the TM teacher will check you and correct it. And definitely TM is definitely good for any mental situation like depression or stress or anything.
Yeah, and I also especially being in this course, I'm practicing BA functional medicine certified health coach. Something that comes up a lot for me, just even in my personal life, right? It's just how much TM has helped with the stress, with the anxiety, how it can impact one's overall health because it's a natural, effortless way, right, to reduce all of that stress and anxiety that can manifest into other pretty difficult medical conditions. So that's a really great point that someone brought up. We also have another comment or question as well about their takeaways. So this attendee said she was wondering if Maharishi had any advice about leadership for people who struggle to take center stage. That's a great question. I love that.
I think the quality of leadership is in everybody. It has to come out. You have to, what we say, that everybody has a potential to be great. How to bring that potential, how to enliven that potential is important. What the practice of transcendental meditation and what the teachings of Maharishi have always been to enliven the potential that everybody has, and depends on how much your potential, how much you enliven that potential. Because when Maharishi says that one of the lesson from Maharishi was that we are born in this as a human being. That means we have the, and then when we have the ability to think, that means we can meditate. And if you can meditate, you can achieve everything that you want. And then leadership, I think, is a quality. Many people achieve it easily, quickly. Many people it takes time. But I think this is only through, again, creative intelligence. That's what the basic is. That you have to practice meditation, bring up that quality, enliven your hidden potential, and then you are a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely, yeah, it gives you a great foundation to really step into these leadership roles. I was wondering, Jay or Jim, did you have anything you wanted to maybe add to this question, or anything else that you wanted to
Well,
put into this space now?
a thought occurred to me, and I'd like your comment. So I am, trained in business administration. So I actually know how to analyze, plan, make business plans, make careful decisions. But the three most important moves I made in business, I took kind of daringly, and I wasn't even planning to, that this was opportunity. I call it leap before you look. This was a good thing. I became committed in a matter of hours because I sensed the opportunity, and that is way different than planning. So I wanted this, and in these cases, they worked out. Now, I'm sure many turn into crash landings, but just wanted to say that as a comment on carefully planning ahead. So do you have a comment on that?
I think this is a great idea. Planning is one thing, but see, finding real if the opportunities are always there, but actually to realize that, to understand that there is opportunity, this opportunity is good for me, and that comes from Jim, from your experience of business in your field. If you it's because of your experience, and more you gain experience, then you get that knowledge, then you achieve that knowledge of which opportunity is good for my business and which opportunity I should explore further. And that I think in any business, that comes from experience.
So you can, I want you to, as a endorse the idea of leaping before you look, if you're sure of the opportunities for you, as opposed to carefully plotting and planning your next move.
I think that, as I said, it's because of from your experience, you would know whether it is a good opportunity and I should leap for it, or I should think about more carefully, consider
Think
it.
about it more, right? Okay.
Amazing.
Well, I think that's in
And
the mix for a lot of businesses. So that is
Yeah.
my thought.
Right. That's
amazing. And Jay, did you have any last quick words you wanted to share before I step into the reflection stage of this webinar?
No, I think I really appreciate Ajay Uncle's words here, and I agree with Jim. When you're sure of the idea, you want to leap forward and don't look back. It's always like I also agree that you always want to move quickly, and the planning is incredibly important as well. But you don't want to over plan and then be paralyzed. So that's something that is very important, and have the confidence in doing that is also very important. Even though maybe you don't want to take center stage, which is fine, because there's a lot of, you don't necessarily have to in order to be a leader. Just take center stage. You can. So I know that from experience. You don't have to be the kind of the center of attention all the time, but you could still lead in other ways. So, thank you.
in some of the businesses,
you,
Jay, it's
Jay.
very important to seize the opportunity at that particular moment. That is also important, and that comes from mostly from experience. That suppose an opportunity comes and I spend time in planning about it, how to do it, and all that, and maybe it's too late to encash on that opportunity. So sometimes you have to leap, as Jim was saying. Sometimes you just have to leap, because that particular opportunity may not be there in by the time you come out with the planning. And it's mostly, I think, as you go on, you learn in your business. If you stick with particular business, you keep on learning from your experience when to plan and when to immediately act on it.
Thank you so much. And so now, as we have the last final moments of this hour, I just wanted to reflect a bit and say, wow, I'm blown away with this content. I really resonated a lot when Ajay was talking about how we can focus on the good that's innate in everybody. I think it's oftentimes so easy for us to write off people, write off plans, write off ideas, but when we're able to have this unity kind of going into these very diverse spaces, I think it's a great way, a great perspective to have. And it's positive and not a toxic way, right? And I also wanted to say, as we were touching on this conversation, that I think being center stage as a leader, sometimes we have this like hyper masculine idea of what a business leader is, right? But we can kind of tap into some of those more introspective roles, more supportive roles, because that's also being a leader, supporting other people and their great ideas, and helping those shape into reality. So I love that transcendental meditation can help so many people step into these grand ideas because they feel that they have this unlimited potential. They feel that they are totally accessing this one unbounded ocean of consciousness, and they're manifesting everything from this unified field. So I just wanted to thank everybody that contributed to this conversation today. Please write your email if you haven't had your question answered, so that we can answer that afterwards. And I want to say thank you again to Ayako, thank you Viola, especially thank you to Ajay. It has been a true honor to share this space with you. You are a legend in many ways, and the good that you're doing in this world is truly admirable. And thank you, Jim and Jay. You provided such great insight and really had some thought-provoking questions. So thank you all, and Jai Guru Dev.
Very good. Thank you very much. Yeah, good day.
Thank you.
They go down.
Thank you.
Good.